Welcome to my channel where OP gets revenge on an HOA Karen who called the cops on her for having a tattoo. Our next post is from a user. Moving day was a quiet, uneventful day in our new neighborhood. My husband and I had just moved into our first house together. We were both excited to start this next chapter in our lives. We're in our early 30s. He retired out of the army a few years ago and I'm a teacher. As we were unloading boxes from the U-Haul, I saw this little bird poop on our new welcome mat. I laughed and said, "Looks like we have company now." My husband and I were unpacking while keeping an eye out for any nosy neighbors. The previous owner had told us that the neighbors could be a bit overbearing, but we didn't think much of it. We were just excited to get everything set up. A little while later, this lady comes storming up our driveway. She's in her 50s, has a visor on her head and is pushing up her sunglasses. She stopped in front of me with a clipboard and demanded, "Are you the new owners?" I responded, "Yes, ma'am. I'm his wife." She cuts me off and says, "You can't live here. This is a private HOA community. You're not supposed to be here." I calmly said, "We own this house. I have the papers right here." As I held up our closing documents for her to see, she yelled, "Call the police." Then she turned around and marched back to her car. A few minutes later, a police cruiser pulls up in front of our house. The lady in the car honks and waves them down. I rolled down my window and asked if everything was okay. The lady yells, "That woman is trespassing. She doesn't live here. Make her leave." The officer calmly asks me if I know why he's here. I tell him that this lady called the cops because I'm apparently trespassing on my own property. I explain that we just bought this house and we've been unpacking. The lady keeps interrupting me, but the officer tells her to stop. He then asks me if I have any ID. I tell him that I do, but it's inside and I'd have to go get it. He says that's fine and that I don't have to do it right now. I go back to helping my husband with the boxes. The lady stands up and screams at the top of her lungs. She has a tattoo. "Look, she's a troublemaker. You gotta make her leave." She holds up her arm so the officer can see her sleeve. The officer looks at her and says, "Ma'am, she's a decorated veteran. You owe her respect." The lady froze. She slowly dropped her hand and backed away without saying a word. She got into her car and left. I guess that explains why there were 3 Humvees parked on the street. I went back to helping my husband. The officer stayed for a few more minutes chatting with us. He even offered to come over for dinner sometime. We accepted and invited him to bring his wife and kids. After he left, my husband and I finished unpacking. We put up our decorations and made our first meal in our new home. We decided to sit outside on our new patio furniture and relax after a long day of moving. And to our surprise, we actually had a wonderful evening. This gives new meaning to the term HOA Karen. That poor veteran. I hope she finds some better neighbors soon. And hey, maybe the HOA will pay for some new welcome mats. Our next Reddit post is from another user, HOA meeting. The next day, my husband and I went to the post office. We wanted to pick up our mail and establish a relationship with the postal worker. We asked about the neighborhood and she warned us about the HOA. She said that they're a pain in the butt and always looking for reasons to find people. So when we heard a knock at the door later that day, we weren't too surprised. It was one of the ladies from the HOA. She introduces herself and asks if we would like to join the board. I tell her that we're still getting settled. She responds, "Well, time is of the essence. The monthly HOA meeting is tomorrow night and we need all the members present." She handed us the papers to fill out and left. We both looked at the papers and started laughing. After we finished reading the papers, we had an idea. My husband filled out the paperwork with one of his buddies' names, and I filled mine out with a name I found online. We wrote down fake addresses, too. We couldn't wait to attend our first HOA meeting. At the meeting, we introduced ourselves and sat down. All eyes were on us. I could feel my husband stifling a laugh. Once everyone was seated, they started going over the agenda. They talked about landscaping rules, parking regulations, safety issues, etc. Finally, they came to the section where they discussed fines. One of the board members brought up the incident with the veteran. The board member was Karen, who tried to have us kicked out of our home. The board member said, "We need to find her guilty of something so that we can hit her with the maximum fine. What do you suggest?" She looked directly at me. I smiled and said, "How about we see if she has any outstanding violations?" Karen started arguing, but the board member cut her off. "Karen, please take your seat. We'll be discussing this issue further after this meeting." Karen reluctantly sat down. The board then started voting. All in favor of finding her guilty of harassment. Raise your hand. Every single hand in the room shot up except for Karen. The board member thanked us for attending our first meeting. She said that we'll be sending out a letter with our fines shortly. She also said that Karen won't be happy. She whispered, "Make sure you lock your doors at night. She might try something stupid." My husband and I thanked her and left the meeting. Our first night in the neighborhood was great. Our next Reddit post is from another user, Neighborhood Respect. The next day, we were unpacking inside when we heard a knock at the door. I opened it and it was 2 of our neighbors. They introduced themselves and invited us over for coffee. We accepted and they invited us to a block party later that week. The neighbors apologized for Karen's behavior and told us that she was crazy. They said that we should ignore her and that we're lucky to have her as a neighbor. They said, "No, seriously, we're really lucky to have you as a neighbor." They left and we went back to work. Later that week, we attended the block party. Most of the people there were from our neighborhood. We met the parents of the kid who saluted me. He said, "Thank you for your service, ma'am." He then ran off to play with the other kids. I smiled and turned to leave. My husband grabbed my hand and said, "This is our neighborhood now. Don't let her get to you. We're going to be just fine." I squeezed his hand and we walked away. End screen. Never judge a book by its cover.